Some things I've really noticed about your work, which I find interesting, is you work a lot with the eight extraordinaries. Could you explain a little bit about that and how you came to work with those in clinic?
Absolutely. What people don't know is when they go to an acupuncturist, most of the time the acupuncturist is doing like, we're working on the liver channel, we're working on the gallbladder channel. But when they say that, they're talking about a very specific type of meridian. There's 12 primary meridians, and those are the ones that most acupuncturists use. Stomach channel, the heart channel, those are meridians that deal with blood that go to the organ level. But when an acupuncturist is selecting to use the primary meridians, often they're doing that because those are the meridians that are taught most in schools, but not necessarily because those are the ones that are the most clinically relevant to what is happening with the patient. The primary channels are the middle level of energy in the body, but there's two other levels of energy that are accessible by acupuncture. There's Wei Qi, which is the superficial level of energy, which deals with the skin and the musculature of the body. The Wei Qi levels have no organ connection. They're really just superficial levels, and you can access them through different types of meridians called the sinew channels and the diversion channels, which is a different type of meridian. And then there's the deepest level of energy that is below the blood level that deals with something called yuan qi, which is source qi, constitutional qi, really the energy that is dealt with we sort of talk about more with destiny, like the actual curriculum of your life. And that is what the eight extras are. The eight extras are the deepest level. These are vessels that deal with the trajectory of your life. And I like them because often when you're dealing with the eight extras, when you deal with the primary channels, this is the thing that they don't tell you much, is the primary channels are a response to life. The thing happened and then it affected your body, and now it's in the meridians, the primary meridians. And so by the time you're working on the stomach channel, it's because of all the bad things that already happened to your stomach. When you deal with the eight extras, you're saying life didn't matter. This is energy that was not affected by anything that happened to you after you were born. This is energy that is related to your constitution and what you have to learn in this lifetime, the directionality of your life as given to you at birth, the minute of conception even. And so when you deal with eight extras, you're really dealing with life trajectory. And I often think that's probably, for me, that's a more useful place for what I want to do with patients, which is to step back from the bad thing that happened and actually have some perspective on what that bad thing means to the bigger story of your life, or even to forget that the bad thing happened and actually see yourself as so much bigger than that altogether. And that is how I think you get back to healing, is to widen your imagination back to how you were actually considered before you were even born. And so that's the eight extras are a way for me to look at the body that way, or to explain the body that way. Could we just look at your primary resources? Could we look at the way you think of nourishment? Can we look at the way you think of curiosity? The eight extras are a really good set of metaphors for that curriculum, I think. And so that's how I was always taught them. But again, it's about the selection of them. I don't do the eight extras on every patient. Some patients, they have a stomach ache and they need to be worked on their stomach. And so then you do a primary channel, and that's what it's there for. But what happens is because the boards tend to only test on the primary channels, acupuncturists don't learn anything but the primary channels. And so they think those are the only meridians, but there's other options. And what we're talking about is they're Russian nesting dolls. It's like the primary is in the middle, but there's bigger ones and there's smaller ones. And so I want to pick the nesting doll that is most appropriate to where my patient is. And that I just want to have as many tools as possible.
Well, I've heard acupuncturists claim that you can't clinically work with the eight extraordinaries, which I know not to be true through people like yourself and other people I've worked and studied with. They say, oh, once you're born, once you're incarnate, there's no effect there. But my experience is that's not true. So what would you say to those people? They just haven't learned enough? Or
what we're talking about now is
the woo-woo.
It's not even the woo-woo. I'm just like, well, it's how literal you want to interpret anything as far as I'm concerned. I think that the primary meridians are metaphors, frankly. I think stomach 36 is a point that everyone uses, which is like the big point for digestive function. But I don't actually think that when I put a needle into stomach 36, it sends a signal into my stomach that helps me digest food better. I don't think of acupuncture as operating necessarily on the most literal level. And so I think of the eight extras in terms of all of that. I think all of the meridians are metaphors, frankly. I think they're all poems that I'm trying to talk to the body through. And again, that's what I'm speaking about before is that I think the whole thing is poetry, frankly. I think that the points are all poems. I think that the metaphor of chi moving through the body, of feeling stagnant, is the metaphor. I think the metaphor of how I digest the world, make sense of it, use it to make me stronger, and dispose of the waste. That's the metaphor of digestion, I think. And so perhaps none of it is true. I'm open to that possibility, but I do think that those metaphors are still powerful. And I think they're more powerful than any medicine, frankly. And so that's where I come at it from. I can't say that you can or can't use certain vessels. I think it's sort of a silly conversation to have at some point.